Got to get it, Papa.
Whoa!
Here's more from the Wedell-Williams Aviation and Cypress Sawmill Museum. And look at that. That's a trophy to James Wedell, also known as Jimmy. And that's another trophy that went to James Wedell. You know something similar about them is they had those little airplanes on them. And look at that. Governor's Cup. And look at that. Dun, dun, dun. Let's go up. Dun, 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 dun. Now that's a trophy. There's a shell trophy. And you can tell these are very old. All of these are from the late 20s or early 30s. And look at that. The little plane on top. That's a racing plane. That's because this is the Wedell-Williams Museum. And these are all planes that were raced and built by them.
Next race in 3 minutes.
Ooh, I better get ready. There's a new race coming. But this company, the Wedell-Williams Air Service Corporation, was based here in Patterson, Louisiana. And there's a big, long story about it that is largely forgotten because it happened way back in the 20s and 30s. But this is a really cool museum that highlights all that. Speed dashes, records, Thompson trophies, and look at this. The trophies are the coolest thing. These are incredible. It keeps going and going, and you got the little airplanes and the ladies holding them and stuff.
The next race is about to start.
Ooh, I better get ready. Let's get ready, y'all. There's some very cool planes in here. And this one was actually donated to the museum by Mr. Red Laurel, who has a it's like a big bodybuilding and exercise and fitness center in Lafayette, Louisiana. And he collected different planes over the years and got this one and restored it and donated it to the museum. So that's really cool. And here's some information about a couple of people that were involved with flying these race planes. Husband and wife, James Hazlip and Mary. They called her May. And she was an unbelievable female pilot that was kind of unheard of at the time. And she flew in this plane right here. Set records, won races, all kinds of stuff. Very cool stuff. From Patterson, Louisiana. Who would have thunk? One of the neat things about this museum is you can walk right up to the planes. You can't touch. You shouldn't touch them, but it's so tempting because they're pieces of history. And you can even see right inside the cockpit there. And if you notice, there's no wheel. There's sticks. Flying with sticks. Yeah, this plane up here is one of the early ones. Some of these planes in this museum are genuine and some are reproductions. I don't remember if this is a reproduction or not, but this is one of the early planes that they built. And it was interesting because Jimmy Wedell was like the main pilot and designer, and he would pretty much make it up as he went. And the reason they got into all this stuff is because he and Mr. Harry Williams had the idea of competing for mail delivery service back in the 20s, which was a big deal back then. You could get a contract and make a lot of money. So their idea was just like, okay, well, we can get planes. We have planes. We can do that. But we got to be faster than everybody else and more reliable. And so that's when they started modifying the planes they had. And Wedell was amazing. There's one story where he actually walked into the empty hangar and drew an outline on the floor of what the plane he wanted to build with a big piece of chalk. And that's where they started. It's pretty compact in there. Let's see, there's the stick. And the seat. I guess you could put a pillow on it if you wanted some cushion. Here's some little models. These are actually a couple that the Delgado Trade School was in New Orleans. And this is I'll give you a little information on that. So look that and pause that and read that. It was pretty good, cool to go to trade school and learn how to build racing planes. And look that. Now this one, I'm gonna walk around the front. We can get a little information because this is a pretty big plane compared to most of these. Let's see, we get past the glare there. Yeah. Pretty cool stuff. That's that early one taking off. Here's a little information. It talks about actually the mail service connection. Now pause that and read that. But this one here, this is one of the big ones. Wedell flew this one, the 44. Yeah, Wedell, you could choose the number for your plane. I'm not sure how all that works, but he chose 44, and he had a little reason that went with it. Wedell said this plane was hot as a 44 and twice as fast. There's some information on that with my shadow included for no cost. There's a couple other biographies, timelines for people. Because Harry Williams was the partner, the Williams of Wedell-Williams. And he was the person that was from Patterson. Jimmy Wedell was from Texas City, Texas, which is actually right by Galveston, north of Galveston. And then, let's see, back there, Marguerite Clark. They have to do a little investigation to find information about her, because she was actually a movie star in silent films. And she met Harry Williams, and they got married, and that was the end of her movie career. But she was okay being Mrs. Williams, and they lived at a big house in New Orleans, which is actually still there. You can go see, it's a library now, so you can go in it and wander around and stuff. But it doesn't look like a home, it looks like a library. All these planes are so cool. And look at that. Now that's a kind of coat I want. Man, I could use one like that. Here's some information about it. It's got genuine vintage airplane grease on it and stuff. That's pretty cool. Embroidered. That's not printed on there. It was all embroidered on it. So you don't get your regular duds all dirty when you're crawling around under a plane and stuff. Here's the 45. Now this is something interesting. Over here, you pause that and read that. But the Cotten Airport in New Orleans is also known as the Lakefront Airport, and it's still there, and it's really cool. It's a very Art Deco building, and they have a restaurant in there and everything. They actually, you want to take a trip back in time, I think it's the lounge or the restaurant or both are right on the field. You look out the windows and you're looking straight out at the runways and stuff, the way they used to do. Because back in the old days, you would go to the airport and you would walk out across the field to some steps and go get in your plane and take off. There's some engines that aren't being used at the moment. The other thing about that airport, the Lakefront Airport, is many people love this incredible movie that was actually shot there. If you've ever seen the Green Lantern movie, that was the airport, the big building where they did the show. I don't remember exactly what all happened. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, Green Lantern appeared live at the at the Lakefront Airport. That was they had the air race that Wedell-Williams raced at right there, the same airport. But that race was real. It wasn't CGI. And look, this is something interesting that people might not know. This is a Delta Airlines plane, and if you look up over here, it lists those towns. Delta Airlines was actually started in near Monroe, Louisiana, and I believe there is still an old a building there from the Delta Airlines days, way back, going way back. And look that. I don't know if y'all can hear, but there's a train passing by too. There's a lot of travel related stuff going on. But this is the Gilmore Red Lion. And if you go back on Look Dat, there's an episode where I went to, let's see, I went to Corinth, Mississippi. And why would I go there? Well, I stopped there. I went to the, get me a sort of, let's see, what was it? Coke float. I got there in Corinth, downtown at the drugstore. And then I went out to the Roscoe Turner Airport. Roscoe Turner is the pilot. This was his plane, and he flew for Gilmore. If you look back at that, there's some pictures of him and stuff at the airport. And he's had a pet lion named Gilmore that he would actually carry around with him in the in his plane, in the cockpit right up there. But Gilmore was a cub. He got him as a cub, and eventually Gilmore got too big and couldn't fly with him anymore. But he kept him. He had a place at his house, and people would go by and look at him and stuff. And I think Gilmore is still around. I think he might be at the Smithsonian or something like that, stuffed. He's not alive anymore, but he's still around in spirit. Wow, that was for Jimmy Wedell. There were times when he flew with a sidearm because of some of the things he was involved in early on in his career. But these are some cool artifacts. Transport pilot's license. Very neat that they saved those things. And here's some information about Jimmy Wedell himself. Let's see if I can get it without a glare. There we go. But yeah, see, he was born in Texas City, Texas. And something that people just can't imagine is that when he was a kid, sometime around around 15 years old or so, he also played around with motorcycles back then, which were like crazy bikes with big engines on them and stuff. And he was in an accident and lost the sight in one of his eyes. I'm not sure whether it was a right or left. And see right there, he wanted to join the Army to become a pilot. That was brand new. They were just trying to figure out what was going on, and they rejected him. They said, well, you got one eye, kid. You can't do it. He was 17 years old, or 16. Besides that, they were like, you only got one eye, dude. You can't do this. And he said, okay, well, I'll just make planes myself and fly them myself. And he did. And he designed planes like this that set records after records after records. And see, the 44 and the Gilmore are very similar in design. Design that too. And yeah, aside from setting world speed records and everything, he was a very interesting fella and very incredible talent and like a genius for aircraft design. And it's a shame the world lost him when they did, because there was a lot more that he could have done. And this is an interesting aside. As you see from the timeline, Jimmy Wedell was killed in a plane crash, and he was training a student. And there's a lot of questions about what exactly happened, but the student survived. He did not. Then Harry Williams, the other half of the company, was killed in a plane crash. He had been to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to have a conference, some kind of business thing, something like that. And they were leaving, taking off in their plane, which was a plane just like this. That's that Stagger wing. That was like his business plane. And they were taking off from Baton Rouge, and some mishap caused the crash, and they were taking off, so they were full of fuel and everything. And that was the end of that. The company went to Marguerite, who wasn't really suited for running an aircraft company, and she dealt with it as long as she could, and she was just in way over her head, and it wasn't her calling. So she ended up selling the company, and then soon after, 1940, she passed away. So in the course of 8 years, 7, 8 years, the entire company was pretty much wiped off the face of the earth and largely forgotten. And I mean, you know, going from the top story on every newspaper in the country to being just gone, practically in the wink of an eye. So that's what's cool about this this museum, is it actually captured all that. It's a cool film that also talks about the female pilots, and May Hazlett in particular, and talks about how resistant they were to having a woman fly their planes until she proved it. And she got to fly more and set all kinds of records and stuff. An incredible group of people. And with the Gilmore here, here's a little bit about Roscoe Turner. He was unbelievable. He's the showman deluxe back in the 20s and 30s. He even came up with his own design for a uniform. He would wear a uniform. He didn't have to, but he did. That's back in the days when these guys, when they would fly a plane, they fly it with a coat and tie, and then they put coveralls over them to keep it from getting all messed up or sooty or dirty or whatever. And Roscoe even had his own uniform. You can see it in all these pictures. And look, there's Gilmore, the lion, when he was a cub. And here's an exciting picture of Gilmore like biting his arm as an adult. Just playing though. There was never any kind of mishap that I've ever heard of involving Gilmore, other than it got too big to fly. But branding, advertising, I mean, covered it all. So this is really cool. If you're ever curious about anything like this, this is a place to be. See it up front. I'm not touching it, but it's right there. So close. Beautiful planes. Yeah, this is kind of the end of the story here. It talks about Jimmy Wedell. That's the actual crash where he was killed. That was 1934. 1935, his brother, Walter, who was a mechanic and sometime pilot that worked with him, he was killed in a plane crash. 1936, Harry Williams was killed in his plane crash in Baton Rouge. And see, 3 years, and that was what it took to effectively end the whole enterprise. Here's a couple of other things. The Memorial Airport. The airport is still there that they started at. That's what it looked like in their day, and it's modernized, but it ain't much bigger. And it's here right outside of Patterson, very close. All right, and to continue the Wedell-Williams connection adventure, I'm going out to a place right down the road, really, from the museum. And let's see. You see way out there, you see some buildings on that field. That is where the original location of the airport that Wedell-Williams worked out of. They had their shop there. They were based out of there. It's now the Harry P. Williams Memorial Airport, and it's right behind this sugarcane field. Sugarcane! Look at that. And first you see the sugarcane, and not much has changed really as far as that goes. But oh, we're almost to the airport. Oh, we're getting close. Let's see that tower there. Let's see, I have to find a place where I can turn in. I don't think I turned in that first one there. But this is it. It's a little regional thing. It's nothing incredible. I'm not even sure. Let's see. They do have a sign for it. It's the Harry P. Williams, H.P. Williams Memorial Airport. And that's it. That's pretty much it. There's a historical marker down there I'll go look at. I think there used to be a house right here. That's gone, but I don't believe any of these are the original buildings, of course. Those were probably replaced long ago, decades ago. But this is what a little regional airport looks like. If you've never seen one, you're seeing one now. The Roscoe Turner Airport is a little bit bigger, but that's about it. See the runways and everything? All the runways and everything over there. I don't know what those big wheels were for. But there's some other buildings. There's a helicopter service or something like that way on the other side of the field. Yep, and look that. That's the real life historical marker by the Louisiana State Tourist Commission. That's been there a long time, it's 1969. That's an old one. But you can see, there's the proof. It all happened right here, right by these giant oak trees. Another interesting thing about this airport, when it was Wedell-Williams, and probably for a little time after that, they also worked on seaplanes and were experimenting with seaplanes and stuff. So somewhere out here, actually I think it might be on the other side of the road there. It's hard to see. Somewhere out here, they built basically a water landing strip, and I believe that is it. That's it right there. No trespassing, so I'm not going to go try to look at it, but I'm pretty sure that's where it is. It runs parallel to this road here, which is parallel to the airstrip. And so they dug a water landing strip for seaplanes, and I thought that might have been gone, but it's actually still here apparently. And if you look on like Google Maps or satellite things or something like that, you can see that. You should be able to see that on the map. I might have to find it. Now I'm all excited. I got to find something new. I thought that was long gone. It's pretty cool. It's like a piece of history still sitting here. If you look out across the way there, that's the airport. That's where their buildings were, where the racing planes were designed and built for the most part and flown out of there. There's a helicopter coming in because it's still an active airport, and they have a helipad and they have all kind of stuff out here. But and they still apparently have the seaplane landing pond. I don't know what you'd call it, landing pond or landing strip. It's not really paved or anything, but interesting stuff. Hang on to something, because look, that's coming back pretty soon.